Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 633 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we interviewed Dr. Brock McCurdy. And if you want to hear our story about chiropractic outcomes and the usage of his app and the necessity of vitalism in chiropractic, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I have Brock McCurdy coming on today from the other side of the Atlantic, over in Spain. This guy just had a speaking engagement at Chiro Europe. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm really proud of this guy, what he's doing for the profession. He has a business and an app called Chiropractic Outcomes. So we'll discuss that and the importance behind it and his obsession with measuring and understanding the practical numbers of chiropractic. Also, practicing in Spain, I think, is going to be a really fun thing for us to discuss today.
Yeah.
And the necessity of vitalism in chiropractic and why we have to call it vitalistic. So we're going to talk about a lot of great topics and creating stories into stats. And every patient that comes through is a story that becomes something that's measurable and tracks. And we can show that now with his powerful app with Chiropractic Outcomes. Before we jump into this episode, talk all things Dr. Brock, I'll let you know our big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? Well, first things first is we protect freedom of speech with our show. We've never censored anybody, and I think that that's really, really important today because we know what it's like to be shadow banned, censored, and traffic throttled. Mainstream social media is not a big fan of the truth, and that's all we deliver over here. We also believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. They're not the same things, but if you're looking for knowledge on either one of those big ideas, reach out to a chiropractor and they are going to guide you and your family to a healthier future. We philosophically believe in supporting the sacred trust. If you do not know what that means, go to chirohustle.com, check out the show notes. And you're going to learn more about chiropractic than you ever did before. I guarantee you it's BJ Palmer's last words. It's very important to the future and the past of chiropractic. We support subluxation-based chiropractic. I know it's a big idea that we have to talk about this too, but they're taking it out of the schools. And it's a major part of what I was just talking to over in London and in Michigan recently. And we have to preserve the language of chiropractic, whether it's historical or not. We still have to preserve it. And we believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We believe that when you get adjusted, man or woman, it connects the physical to the spiritual. And with that being said, Dr. Brock, welcome to the show. You are episode 633 of the Chiro Hustle podcast.
Amazing. Thanks for having me on, James.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into this. You know, we were talking about numbers earlier, and like the significance of like 633 episodes. And, you know, you're like, is it kind of just like, you know, you just do the thing and like, it's kind of like an old hat. And I'm like, no. The power of just one episode, like whatever it takes to get us to here right now is so many touch points in order to get us to like connect and, you know, create a story brand and then have a positive conversation about things that matter, including the chiropractic profession.
Yeah, no, well done. It's been 7 years, yeah? Did you say earlier?
Almost. You know, we were born on the 4th of July. So we're nearing our 7th year.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, I'm proud to be the 633rd.
33rd.
Yeah, awesome.
So 17 years as a chiropractor. Tell us your story. I know that sometimes people want to gloss over like the individual story, the hero's journey of the chiropractor, but it's very important to me because I believe that this is something that your friends, your family, your colleagues, your patients will listen to, and they'll reconnect with you. So maybe share with people like the big why. Why did you do what you do?
Well, my first adjustment, I was 13 years old, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I mean, I was well, even before that, I always wanted to be like a healer or a doctor or something like that. Since I was 9, I really remember the moment actually. And I was really into martial arts. I got kicked in the back and had a pretty bad injury. And my mum, who's into more natural health, took me to a chiropractor. And I really had no idea at that time what a chiropractor was. I thought I was there to fix my back pain. And I had my first adjustment, and it was like, it was a before and after moment. Just the fact that I just loved the adjustment. It wasn't like I saw God or anything like that. Like, it was just the adjustment was just so freaking cool. It was like the mix of like healing and karate and just whatever it was. But from that moment, I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. And so I was really blessed. And since then, like, I'm 46 now, and I still love what I do. Like, it's just the best job ever. I'm so blessed. And it was interesting. So my back pain went away pretty quickly, but I continued getting adjusted, and I had asthma, like really bad as a child, but super bad. I was hospitalized for like 2 weeks at a time, taking medication daily, and it cleared up. And as like it's an effect, but as a side effect of care, And I was always one of those really sick kids at school. Those kids that get like every flu or cold that's going around, and I just was strong. I just didn't get sick like the other kids. And I kept competing in karate and got to 4th in the world. So it got me, I ended up using chiropractic for performance, So it changed my life. I love helping people change their lives through chiropractic, and just feel blessed to be part of this profession. I love it.
As you talk about like the association with martial arts and chiropractic, that's a part of this profession that a lot of people don't really have the insight into, is knowing that chiropractors are healing artists, and the adjustment is the art.
I love the technique. It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's beautiful. Yeah.
And we were just talking about the power of a toggle.
Yeah. Yeah. That was, I mean, I like lots of adjustments now, but there was a period of time where I was really into toggle. I really love the art form of, the adjustment. And it's just it's a never ending process of mastery, when you never really get there. It's just a process of trying to be the best you can be, refining it and getting better. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we were discussing it earlier, I was like, just that look of awe on somebody's face after you rock their atlas and they get that toggle look.
It's a powerful adjustment.
You know that they're reconnected.
Yeah. They hooked up. Yeah.
And you told me, like, I had a really bad time of retaining and retention because I would bring them in, I'd do the atlas adjustment, and here they are, connected and gone.
Yeah, well, I mean, I locum for 3 years, did heaps of seminars, so I was a pretty good adjuster for the small years experience I had. Set up practice, thought I'd be high volume straight away, super overconfident. Yeah, and I wouldn't talk about their symptoms, toggle their atlas, tell them they're connected. And that was it. I thought that was enough. And for me, most didn't come back.
Well, see, the thing is real Jedi chiropractic is you're delivering the force to them.
Yeah. I didn't have any communication skills at that time. That's for sure.
Yeah, but that's just it, is like there's different levels of nurturing people.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's all that people need is that one thing.
It is true.
And we always want people to do it the way we want them to do it. Sometimes people come in and you give them what they need, and that's what they needed.
Yeah.
And even though like I say, hey, you should get adjusted now and checked once a week for the rest of your life. But some people are like, well, I got one adjustment and it changed the trajectory of my whole existence.
Yeah. And I've seen that. Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And somebody's like, I don't need to go back anymore. It's that one miracle adjustment. I swear by it. You know?
Yeah.
So chiropractic outcomes. I know it's something that you created out of necessity and the advancement of understanding measurement of a patient's journey through chiropractic.
Uh-huh.
Tell us a little bit about the app and why it matters.
Yeah, well, I don't know how long I can talk about this, if I can go on forever, but I know we haven't got too long. I'm really passionate about this. It's something I created for myself, basically because I wanted data on the subjective outcomes I was getting with patients. So I do revisions or progress exams with patients every 12 visits where I'll measure feeling and function. And for feeling, I started with like paper form, and then I moved to digital, and I'd measure things like their presenting complaint, but other vitalistic factors like sleep, energy level, ability to handle stress. And what I wanted after doing this for 15 years, I had around 3,000 forms. And I'm like, this data is gold. Like, I know I'm affecting sleep, but by how much? And what about like ability to handle stress? I know it improves through chiropractic, but by the second progress exam, for example, by how much? So I thought I'll get a data analyst in to go through all these forms and transfer it to like an Excel and collate like a scorecard and give him my stats. And I thought, well, this is going to cost a lot of money. There's human error. It's not very repeatable. So I looked around for some sort of platform or digital online questionnaire that did that automatically, because there's a lot of great digital forms out there now, but none that captured the stats, tracked them, and leveraged the data for patient education. So basically, I built it myself. Well, I had a team of developers that built it for me. And I started using it only early last year, early 2003. And what I found when I started using it was one of my biggest problems was being solved, is that many more patients were continuing care after their pain went away because they could objectively see changes in how they were feeling much beyond their presenting complaint. And it was a pleasant surprise because I didn't build it for this. I'd only built it to show me the results I was getting with patients, but it showed patients the results they were getting with me or with their chiropractic care. The whole thing sort of twisted, And now I had an effective tool that showed the value out of chiropractic. And the patients get their big idea based off their own experience because they self-track. And friends saw what I was doing and said, man, you got to get this out there. And so I turned it into something that other chiropractors can have access to. And I'm super excited and passionate about it.
So let's offer how people can work with it early on, and we'll close out with where people can go to if they wanted to learn more about chiropractic outcomes.
Sorry, mate, can you repeat that?
Where do we send the people to if they're curious to learn more?
Yeah, so easy, chiropracticoutcomes.com. And you can see the information there. You can schedule a demo. And I'm happy to show you through the platform, but it's all there.
Coming out with chiropractic, I like it, and giving people data that they can use. I know that I pre-framed the intro earlier about speaking at Chiro Europe.
Yep.
Tell us about the significance of Chiro Europe and what it means for you to be a part of that community. And then maybe you can share a little bit about what you spoke about at the conference.
Sure. So when I was backpacking around the world for a few years, this is a long time ago, like 18 years ago. And I went to Chiro Europe, and it was in Mallorca at the time, a beautiful island just off the coast of Spain. And it was just all these like vitalistic, turned on chiropractors that were just passionate about chiropractic. And the energy was very different, And that's why I'm in Spain. I met a beautiful bunch of there was just like a density of vitalistic chiropractors here. And that's why I'm living in Barcelona now. And I've been continually going to Chiro Europe, not every year, but a lot of years I will repeat going there because it's just a beautiful community of people that have the same belief around chiropractic that I do. And we support each other. They have great speakers. It's very philosophical. It's a lot of philosophy there, which I love. And it's just a really, really beautiful community. So I'm happy to be part of it, to be honest. I mean, there's not like in the States, you guys got some really big seminars. There's not a lot of really big ones in Europe, but Chiro Europe is definitely one of the biggest, Yeah.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle. Yeah, and was this your first time presenting over there?
At Chiro Europe, it was, yeah. Yeah, I've spoken to a few others because I've really been on the speaking scene for almost a year now, because I've only just been, but when people hear about what I'm doing, they're pretty happy to get me on stage, which is really great, you know? Yeah, so it's just about getting the message out there about what I'm doing.
Sometimes it's a long time coming.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, and I was sharing the stage with some really cool people, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So let's switch gears a little bit to marketing. I know it's a topic that a lot of times people don't really, it's kind of like one of those icky words in chiropractic.
Mhm.
Like so many chiropractors want to just like beat their chest and say, all I do is referral based chiropractic.
Mhm.
How did you grow your practice, and what do you do currently that works for marketing?
Okay. There's a couple of side things there. So when I rented space off a chiropractor when I came to Barcelona, he said I can't market, right? So I like the challenge. I couldn't do most typical marketing things. I could publicly speak. So I initially went into Toastmasters. Have you heard of those guys?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just really worked at public speaking. So I was doing talks in companies. I used to go to restaurants and say, I'll pay for the food for your patrons for a lunch, and just let me talk in front of them. So and that was in Spanish as well. And I was terrible. I would learn my speech word for word because I could hardly even speak Spanish. So I had to have it all scripted and practice it over and over again so people could understand me. So that's how I got started, was public speaking. Yeah.
Wow. So what did you call these things, lunch and learns, or did you just like
Yeah,
everybody
they're a
that
bit
came?
different than lunch and learns, but yeah, it was a version of a lunch and learn. Yeah,
So everybody that came to the restaurant, you paid for their meal and they sat and talked to you?
that you had to pay for their food, and then I would give a like a chiropractic talk. Yeah, and then I did the company thing, going to companies and talking about chiropractic, and now most of my patients, it's sort of 50%. That was many years back, you know. Most things I've tried with marketing have not been successful because I've tried just lots of different stuff. But I've been here for quite a few years now. Like, you know, I graduated 20 years ago. I've been in Barcelona for 17, so I've got quite a bit of a following now, I guess, because I've been here for a while. So most of it's either Google, because I'm high up. I pay for search engine optimization. That's the only marketing I do. I have good stars on Google. You have the ranking, and then my internal referrals. That's, and I usually have a week waiting list, not a huge one, but like I usually have a week waiting list through those two things.
Yeah, it's important for people to understand how one person cracks the code for traffic and success and stability. And I think that so many times everybody has a different method. Everyone has a different secret like ingredient that they put into their practice to make it work.
Yeah.
And some people thrive on community events, some people thrive on speaking, some people thrive on the digital marketing. So there's different levels of people's success, and how do they get there? Well, we don't know unless we talk about it. And that's one of the cool things about this platform is we share other people's success path to where somebody can say, you know what, I should probably try to do that too. And it just reminds me like what you said about like buying the meals for people. It's like speed dating for chiropractic. Like how many people can I interact with during a lunch and let them know that I can help them? Pretty cool.
I really feel if you're getting started, or at any point really, but public speaking, just standing in front of people and telling them the message is a really good skill to have, and it's always going to serve you. So that's a great one to get started with. Yeah.
So you didn't speak any Spanish before you came to Barcelona?
Well, I mean, I'd backpacked through South America for 9 months, but I mean, I was so bad. Like, my Spanish was not that great. So I could get by ordering a cafe or a beer or whatever, but not. Yeah, it wasn't that great.
How long did it take?
Basically, I had to, when I set up, I had to get a receptionist with no patients, because I couldn't answer the phone or communicate with my patients. You know what I mean? So I started with 0 patients with a receptionist just to pick up the phone and talk to people. Yeah.
So how long did it take you before you became quality enough to actually like have a patient interaction?
Yeah, that's a good question. There maybe a couple of years, a few years.
Yeah,
There
I
was
bet.
something good about not being in my native language is I really did clean up my messaging. Like I really had to refine down what chiropractic was and not too much like babble. You know what I
You
mean? Like
couldn't.
I couldn't. So I had to really refine it, which actually was quite nice because you can give
You
quite a clear message if you don't use too many words, you know?
you weren't talking about soccer.
Yeah, no.
You
I just
you
want to
weren't
speak
talking
to
about
them.
the weather. You're
Yeah,
like, this is too much. I can't talk about the weather.
yeah. So there was the benefits as well with that, you know?
It's good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh gosh. So practicing in Spain, not speaking the language, I think one of the most powerful things that maybe might be overlooked in this whole conversation is insulating yourself with a team. And just because you might not be able to communicate a certain way, you can bring team around you to support you in the mission.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, really powerful. A lot of people that see me speak, I openly tell people I've never edited a podcast. I've never posted a podcast to any of the online platforms or any of like the, you know, iTunes or Spotify or Instagram or any of those things. I've never made one post of one podcast to any. I've never distributed a podcast. I built a team around me.
Yeah.
And I think that it's very important for us to utilize other people's skill sets to follow the mission.
Yeah.
And I think it's really encouraging for people to hear this conversation between you and I. You didn't speak the language, but you were able to insulate yourself with one team member that allowed you to check people with chiropractic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah. That's a cool. I'm glad you look at it like that way. I never really thought about it with that much clarity, you know, but I always have had a team around to support me. Yeah. And I've had beautiful people along the way because I've got a clear vision about what I want to help people with chiropractic. So people that share a similar life view, even if they don't know chiropractic, they have a similar life view and they're on board, you know. I've got a great team. Yeah.
Yeah, people are astonished when I tell them that we have a team of 7 and each person has their own little like assignments that they do throughout the week.
Awesome.
And we have our outcomes that we look for too, you know,
Yeah.
and each person manages a bit different part of it. I know that there is something really important about today's conversation too, is vitalism. And why is it so essential for we have to call it vitalistic chiropractic?
Well, I mean, do you think it is essential that we call it vitalistic chiropractic? For, for,
It's
for
it's
me,
it's
for me, chiropractic, I know we have mechanistic and vitalistic, and there's a spectrum, and I'm on the vitalistic side, but for me, that's chiropractic, you know?
but it's like saying that we have food. This one is GMO, this one is organic.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, well, that's a good distinction. But for me, yeah, I definitely sit on the vitalistic side of the fence as far as chiropractic goes. Yeah,
Or
or life.
organic
Yeah,
chiropractic.
organic chiropractic. Yeah,
I think we
me,
have something new today.
and that's what I'm measuring through my app is the vitalistic changes with chiropractic. Yeah, I'm creating data on that.
I love this.
Yeah.
So who have been some of your mentors? Who's helped you become Dr. Brock McCurdy as the way that you think and the way you practice?
Chiropractic mentors.
Yeah.
Yeah. My first mentor when I finished school was Sigafus. And you know Sigafus, I'm sure you've heard of this
Oh
guy.
yeah.
The guy's a legend. And I remember I had my backpack on. I was about to leave Australia, which was a big deal. You know, I'm 27, leaving home, and he coached me for a few years. And I just remember the conversation saying, "I don't know where I'm going to set up. I want to backpack around the world. I want to set up." And I'll never forget this. He told me to always practice where you want to live. If you try to do it for money or for whatever else, it won't work. I always really remember that, which is why I'm in Barcelona, because I want to live here. So Sigafus was good. Also scared me because whenever I called him up, he'd go, "What do you want, Brock?" And he's like, I was always a little bit scared of Sig at first, but man, I love the guy. So there was him, coach with Russ Rosen for many years, amazing man and mentor and coach. Lou Corletto, very big fan of that guy, man. He's got so much integrity around chiropractic, and I love his stuff. Donald Epstein, I was into him for a while. That guy's a freak of chiropractic. He's amazing, beautiful man. Currently coaching with Vishmai, who's a chiropractor living in Bali. He's been amazing, giving me a really different way of looking at chiropractic and the way we run our practice. Yeah, off the top of my head, they're the main ones.
Yeah, I was just with Donnie Epstein this past weekend,
Right.
and we were on the same flight coming out to Sherman College.
Okay.
And I as soon as we got off the airplane, I went over to him and asked him, how he was, and every time I get a chance to see him, it's a great connection, and what a legend. And I was so engaged in our conversation. My ride was coming to pick me up at the airport, and I just disregarded the whole thing. I obviously I got back to my ride, but I walked Donnie all the way to his rental car counter and talked to him the whole way to get his car, and then hugged him and said, "Hey, thank you," and then carried on and went and got my ride with my friend. But
that's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get a moment with that guy. Yeah, he's definitely opened my mind up a lot. I don't practice network, but I really respect it, and I studied it quite a bit many years ago. And yeah, amazing technique and an amazing man.
Lots going on, man. So at this juncture, I'm really curious, as you've progressed for the past 17 years, where do you see the next 17 years of chiropractic?
Yeah, the vision, the future I see with chiropractic is, and this is what I see the vision that I'm trying to create through what I'm doing. I see chiropractic, if we can document that chiropractic is much more than freaking just mechanical back pain, which is what we're being pigeonholed as an alternative treatment for back pain, which is absolutely ridiculous. Chiropractic is so much more. And if we can start to document that, which I'm doing, sleep, energy level, immune system, ability to handle stress, we can shift the needle to a more salutogenic model of health, a more vitalistic model. And that's the future I see for chiropractic.
So you said this big word, salutogenic.
Yeah.
How do we make that word mainstream?
That's a great question.
Because it sounds really fancy coming off the tongue.
Yeah.
And it sounds like really awesome when a chiropractor understands it, or this small pocket of influence starts to bubble up with
it is a very
model.
Yeah, most people don't know what it means. And I use it on this podcast. Yeah, they don't. So that's well said. Yeah. Yeah.
Can we unpack that word a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's what chiropractic is. Vitalistic chiropractic is a salutogenic model of health. You know what I mean? We're not focusing on pain and symptoms. It's more about health and wellness. It's the mechanistic, or the more medical model is looking at the hand this way, while we're looking at it in a totally different perspective,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's really important for when we have these high level conversations that some of these words don't get just brushed over. And I don't get a whole lot of time to talk to, because to me, all chiropractic is vitalistic. And to create a distinction is something I do on social media posts. But when I talk about the purity of the profession, I think everything's vitalistic. I think everything, when somebody gets adjusted and they get their nervous system checked and they get a better quality of life because of it, it's vitalism. It's cause effect.
Mm-hmm.
It's action reaction. And when somebody comes in and they're telling you, "Hey, I do have a real concern with my leg, or I do have a real concern with my arm, or I do have a real concern of carrying a pregnancy to term." These are real things that people are looking for solutions for. They just don't know that chiropractic can help them. So then somebody tips them off and says, "Hey, go check out Dr. Brock. I heard he does really good things. And so this is where you get some of your patients that aren't Google reviews. You get them from referrals.
Yeah.
And then they come in and they had no idea that somebody could do what you do.
Yeah. It's very true, hey? Yeah, and chiropractic just works, man. Because BJ said, no, you can hit someone up the ass with a shovel and they'll get better. But the chiropractic adjustment, even if you're not great at it, changes lives. And if you're a master at it, man, it's amazing what it can do, for sure.
It speeds it up.
It speeds it up. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I was on a kick there for a while where I'd say chiropractic just gets people better faster.
Yeah. Most definitely.
And, I think that that's really true is it gets people better faster. And it's organic if we have to go to that route instead of GMO.
Yeah.
Tell me over your career, something that's really stood out to you as, I guess, a miracle or something you've seen happen that, you didn't expect for it to happen for somebody that you were taking care of.
Right. Well, I've got a bunch of stories. So I've been in practice quite a few years now. One cool story, and this happened many years ago. I was on a mission trip in Tobago. And this is like 15, 16 years ago. And
so you're fresh.
I was fresh. Yeah, I was a couple of years. So I think that's why it had big of an impact. You know what I mean? Like, and it was an upper cervical mission trip. So we're adjusting just atlas, C1, occiput, C1, C2 in the chair. And we're adjusting a lot of people, these mission trips, there's lines of people. And there was this one guy in a wheelchair. And to make the story quick, he ended up walking in just a few days. So he adjusted every day for 3 days and he got out of his wheelchair. But the thing with this guy was he hadn't walked for like somewhere between, I don't want to mix up this story, but it was a long time, like 10 to 15 years. And he happened to be a famous person on the island. He was actually a priest. So everyone knew him and everyone knew this guy couldn't walk. So it was a freaking miracle. And they had people flying in, film crews from other islands, interviewing this guy because he was known around all the other islands about this miracle that had happened, that he could start walking again. And it was just an upper cervical adjustment in 3 days, and the man was walking. Yeah.
Just an upper cervical adjustment. the look of a set atlas,
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, I was driving through Mexico City last week, 2 weeks ago now, and I was saying to my friends that were in the car with me, I go, imagine if we adjusted every C1 and C2 of everyone in the world, including the people that make bad decisions, how quickly decisions would change to better, and how quickly people's lives would advance to a better reality, and how quickly people would be more connected to themselves. So I can see
the world would change.
For the better.
Yeah, for the better. Yeah. It's amazing that chiropractic is such a powerful thing, man. Yeah, I totally agree.
We got to keep rocking the atlases.
Yeah.
So at this juncture, I always give you the option. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to talk to our audience today about?
Thanks for asking. I think I've covered everything. I'm just, if anyone's interested in checking out Chiropractic Outcomes, feel free to have a look at my webpage, which is chiropracticoutcomes.com. Super happy to take you through a demo to see if it suits your practice. But that's pretty much it.
Well, Dr. Brock, you're a great guest. I thank you so much for being on episode 633 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I wish you all the success out there in Barcelona. Next time I'm over on that side of the Atlantic, I'll sure shoot you a message and see if you're available, and maybe we'll go get some paella.
I'd love that, James. I'm sure you do. Hey?
Yeah. Well, enjoy. It's nighttime over there, right?
Yeah, it's like 10 o'clock, something like that. Yeah.
10 p.m. Okay. Well, have a great night over there in Spain. And I'll sign off over here in Grand Junction, Colorado by telling everyone you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.